Okay, so I gotta ask, my first question is, how did this happen? How did you decide that this is what you wanted to do, and how did you guys decide that they were the ones to do it?
Well, you saw the community video, right?
I did,
so
yeah.
that's how it went down.
That's exactly what happened, just that video.
Literally, I mean, he's here, right? After Original Sin 1, I approached Wizards, said I'd like to do Baldur's Gate 3, and they said... and then we had a chat with Nathan Stewart, who's like, is he actually your boss?
Yeah, he is my boss.
He's your boss.
Yes, he's like the global brand director on D&D.
Yeah, so the
wow,
the Mr. Number one on Dungeons and Dragons, which I didn't really realize that's what he was back then. I thought he was a biz dev for Wizards.
He wears many hats. He's a multi-class character.
And exactly. And so we had a long chat, and I'm trying to remember if it was here or at GDC. I don't remember. It was one of these hotels, and he asked me what the vision and why we were the right guys to do it. So I told him, and so I didn't hear anything anymore. But I kept on bumping into Wizards representatives at various conventions, and so I kept on saying, "Hey, about it." And then one day we got a call like, can you come over to Seattle? I'd like to show you something. So, okay, all right. Well, fly to Seattle. I met Nathan in a obscure fishy restaurant. No, that's not true. It was a good restaurant. And Seattle. And he had his big printout of a PowerPoint. And the top of the PowerPoint was Baldur's Gate 3. And so he said, well, this is what I'm proposing in terms of a deal structure. So I'd like to present it to the board. And do you still want to do it? And I said, yes, I still would like to do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have flown over just for having fish with you in a restaurant as much as I like you.
Yeah.
And so I went home, and then he called me a couple of weeks later, I think. All right, so, well, time to come over again. And so that's how it got started.
Wow. Wow, that's so cool. That's so great. I think another one of the big questions that I have is how will the story be impacted by the previous game? Will it continue the same story, or is it going to skip time, kind of like Divinity kind of moves around in the same universe but in a different time frame?
So there's been several installments, if I can call them like that, of Baldur's Gate into the Forgotten Realms lore. So you had Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, obviously. There's the various campaigns that pass by in Baldur's Gate. But then they also have a big campaign which was called Murder in Baldur's Gate. That was on tabletop only. But it did involve the entire story of the Baldspawn. And then you have the new one that they're making now, which is Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. And that's being published in September.
Yeah, September 17th.
September 17th. And so we are the chapter after that. We're the next chapter in the evolution of Forgotten Realms. So what does that mean? It means that you're going to see plenty of references to things that happened in the city in the past. It means that you're going to encounter locations that were present already in BG1, because BG1 was based on Forgotten Realms. But you're also going to see things referenced that happened in the new campaign. But it is going to be a story that is a new story.
Okay, cool. That answered like 3 of my questions in one, too. That was really good. So you mentioned that there's going to be locations, or you might visit locations or references to things that have happened. Are there going to be characters in the game that are from previous games?
So the campaign setting as is has several characters that are coming from the previous game. So by definition, you will see characters that you will recognize.
Okay. I think another really big question is, what rule set will you guys be using?
5th edition.
5th edition.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
But I have to add 2 things to that. So it's based on 5th edition because we ported all of the rules to the computer game. Then we looked at what worked and what didn't work. And they made a game for tabletop, and then we're making a video game. We have to make a fun video game. So there's some things that don't work that well. But then there's also the aspect that if you're playing tabletop, the imagination and the game master are a large part of it. And there's things that are just not even described in the rule set that you could do. And we obviously have to make it work inside of the video game. So that is also something that we have to add on top of it.
Okay.
But the core is 5th edition.
Okay. Are you guys going to add any of what you guys have done with Divinity to that? Or are you just keeping it straight Dungeons & Dragons?
No, we're... So that's what I was trying to say in the previous previous answer to the question. So if you are in combat and you say, I take the table and I throw it at him, right?
Yeah.
So that is something that we have to describe in the video game also, and have to start adding stuff. That's an interaction with the environment, which answers your question.
Okay.
Right, and so things like that, you will see that we've went quite far.
Okay, so you've added like environmental interaction to kind of like what your guys are known for.
Yeah, I mean, but we didn't really add it because you do it in tabletop also.
Right.
It's just that it's something that's up to the game master.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have specific rules for those interactions. It's up to the game master to kind of extend the rules.
Okay.
To cover them. So that's a good example of the kind of gap
Okay.
that's on his team are covering.
Okay. I think another really good question would be like, how linear are you planning on making it? Is it going to be very linear or somewhat linear? Is it going to you can go wherever you want?
How linear is Original Sin 2 in your opinion? How linear is that? On a scale of 1 to 10.
The perfect amount? I don't know. It's linear in a way, but you can kind of take whatever road you want to get there, I guess.
So that's a similar thing. That was also the case in the original Baldur's Gate, and especially in Baldur's Gate 2. Baldur's Gate 2 had this really cool mechanic that I always liked and I referenced a lot throughout the developments of Original Sin to the team, is where you have to earn, I think it was 20,000 gold to be able to take the ship and to go save Imuin. And that is literally the type of freedom that was present there, and that we offered also in Original Sin, and that you'll see in BG3.
Another question that someone actually forwarded me. This is a great question. Is there going to be any sort of save? Can you create a save file based on what you did with your actions from Baldur's Gate 1 and 2? No, you can't. Okay.
Those are closed chapters.
Okay. Another big question is multiplayer. We'll have multiplayer.
Yes.
Do you know what that's going to look like yet?
Yes, I know.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sorry.
It's okay.
No, it's fine. So from DOS 1 to DOS 2, you saw a lot of evolution in how we handled multiplayer. So from DOS 2 to BG3, you'll see another level of evolution in how we handle multiplayer. The party is a very big focus this time. I mean, the slogan of the game is gather your party. BG2 was very party focused also. They had quite a lot of mechanics actually for the time and how they handled the party. So I expect innovation in that direction.
Okay. I still have questions, damn it.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, but
is that kind of tight-lipped for now?
Yeah, we're not delving into the exact mechanics yet.
Okay, but it will have multiplayer, and
it will have
some
multiplayer,
cooperative multiplayer. Awesome. Okay. Do you know how many characters are going to be in a party, like in a group?
Yes.
How many is that?
I'm not saying it.
Okay, fair enough. Another question, I guess, I would want to ask is, what engine are you using? Are you going to use the Divinity 2 engine or a modified version of that, or are you going?
It's the next generation of our own engine. So you've seen since Dragon Commander, you've seen our engine evolve. So this is the next big step. I mean, of our engine. Since you've been following us quite closely so Dragon Commander, I have to, because I might have the numbers wrong here, was 1.0.
Okay.
Original Sin was 2.0. Divinity 2 Original Sin was 3.0. The Definitive Edition was 3.5. And so we're now heading to 4.0. So it's a completely new shift, new upgrade of the engine. There's a lot of tech that's been in development for quite some time.
Okay, cool. In regards to the art style of the game, is it going to be similar to Divinity, or are you guys kind of going in a different direction?
You've seen the teaser trailer, right?
Yeah.
That sets the tone.
Okay. There's a lot of wondering about the camera angle because, the old games are these kind of like top-down isometric views. Is it going to maintain that, or are you guys going to try and use your engine to do that whole 3D thing that you sort of implemented with the definitive edition of Divinity Original Sin 1?
Like this. So we'll show.
You'll show. Okay.
Rather than tell.
Okay. You'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Another question is, how long can we expect the game to be in terms of gameplay?
So I expect people to play around 100 hours if they go through everything. We're making it more or less to be the same length as we did with DOS 2. But yeah, we're really bad at estimating how long it is, how long it takes until everything is done. But I expect people to be able to play a campaign that's approximately 100 hours.
Wow, nice. That's really good.
Fantastic.
Probably you'll see.
I think my first Divinity Original Sin playthrough took like 125 hours.
Well, there you go. So you're probably going to get that kind of level campaign.
Okay.
we don't design for it. So we just say, this is a story, this is how we split it up, and then it takes time.
Okay. Now, as far as the traditional Dungeons and Dragons classes go, is that something you guys are really going to maintain, or are you going to expand on it? Okay, so it's going to be pretty traditional.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
No, I mean, like, the idea is that if you know Dungeons and Dragons and you know 5th edition and you start at Baldur's Gate 3, is that you say, okay.
Okay. You know what to do.
Exactly.
Okay. So there may be
what to do is you're going to spend shitloads of time.
10 hours later in character creation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know the first video I'm going to make. Character creation. Okay. Will you be able to take subclasses like you can in other Dungeons and Dragons games?
Yes.
Okay. Here's an oddly specific question someone wanted to ask you, which is, will you have any famous Dungeons and Dragons role players appear as Easter eggs or doing voiceovers in the game?
No comment.
Okay. All right. That's a good one then. I have another good question. So when Tides of Numenera came out, Torment Tides of Numenera, I interviewed Colin McClellan and I asked him how much pressure is on you to get this game right, because it's such a anticipated sequel. So I wanted to ask you the same question, because here is a hugely anticipated sequel. How much pressure is that, and how do you deal with that?
Well, there's obviously a lot of expectations. People have been waiting for this game for a very long time. We try not to think of the pressure. Like, honestly, just do the ostrich and not think of the pressure, and just focus on making it as good game as we can. Our team is very, very talented, I think. We have Dungeons and Dragons. We have Wizard of the Coast helping us super. The collaboration is very close. We have the funding to do this also. We have no publisher pressure because we're publishing it ourselves. So we pretty much have all of the ingredients to actually make a really good RPG. So we can still fuck it up. But there's a very big drive and passion within the team to make this really, really good. I mean, like, more so even than I think that we saw with the original Sin 2. So there's a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. Not most, but there are a lot of people inside of the team. Their first RPG was Baldur's Gate, right? So that gives them. There's a lot of tabletop sessions going on continuously in the offices and the different studios. So there's a lot of drive on this.
Yeah. I can remember talking to David, and when you guys added couch co-op to Divinity Original Sin, and he was like that we used to play D&D all the time, and this is why we wanted to do this, because we missed the days where we'd sit around a table and all play together.
That's literally what it also was, right? And so this is also what BG3 is like. If you are, the video game is the game master, right? And we're trying to give you as much possibilities of doing things, just like you would be able to do in a tabletop.
Right.
And that's literally the driving idea behind everything we do.
So this is your dream game then?
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, one of them. Oh, okay. What would be your other dream game to make? Okay, then. Well, I'll look forward to that at some point, hopefully. I have another question kind of piggybacking off that, which is, in Divinity Original Sin 2, you guys added a DM mode, and are you going to have something similar to that?
No comment.
Okay. All right. And piggybacking off that, which you may not be able to answer, are you guys going to have modding tools for the game?
That too is one that we're not commenting on yet.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
That's fine. Do you know what platforms it's going to be released on?
Yes.
Okay, what platforms are those?
So it's been announced for PC and Stadia.
Okay. And you don't know if it's going to be... Well, I guess you probably do know. Okay. I wish people could see the way you're
understanding each other here.
I'm like, oh God, I know what he's doing. Okay. All right. So is it possible it will be released for other platforms?
Currently, we just announced PC and Stadia.
Okay,
so that's how it is.
Okay. All right. I think I'm running out of questions. Hang on. I think there was one more I wanted to ask. Oh yeah. Do you guys have like a time frame, a window that you're looking at publishing in?
Yeah, but I mean, Larian and time frames.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a time frame that we're looking for, but I mean, like, people have been waiting on this game for a long time, so we'll probably wait a little bit longer, and we need to get it right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, we can't release it if it's
not.
No,
yeah, absolutely. Not this game, especially.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a game that we want to play ourselves also. So it is something that we've been waiting for ourselves for a long time. So we're going to try to really deliver on it. But yeah. we'll see how much time it takes.
Okay.
I mean, we announced now because we want to start talking to the community. We want to understand what it is that they're really looking for.
Right.
And so match it against what our vision is of what we're doing.
Sure.
And then together evolve.
Are you guys going to do an early access, or are you planning on to do one like you did with Divinity Originals?
So what we're not doing is a Kickstarter, so that's clear. There's no Kickstarter. What we're going to do other than that, we'll announce when the time is right for that.
Okay. And then I had one question for you, which was, this will be my last question, which is, how did you guys know that Larian was the right studio?
So I wasn't involved in the business side of things. Like once the deal was signed, that's when they was like, oh, by the way, we're making Baldur Gate 3. And it's like, and it was funny because when I first was told, oh, we're working with Larian, I was running I had many D&D campaigns. There's one D&D campaign I was running with a bunch of WotC employees. So they're all under NDA, but they didn't know anything about the deal yet. So I just sort of did the little thing of like, hey, if we were going to make Baldur Gate 3, which studio would you want making it? And everyone at the table answered Larian, right? Like, so that told me we're on the right track. But I remember when we first started working together, collaborating, it was just a natural fit. On a creative level, I think we have a very similar attitude towards role-playing games, whether tabletop or digital computer role-playing games. And I think we also have a very similar sense of like the idea of developing a community. That role-playing gamers, I think, it's funny, we each tell our own story, but I think we like the idea that we're all telling our own stories together. That there's just a natural sense of community. I mean, that's what happens when you bring people together on a tabletop. Or, even in a video game, this idea of sharing what you've done, right? Or playing co-op, things like that. So I think it's kind of reflected in how we work together. It feels like almost like this adventuring party getting together and plotting out the next great D&D story. I remember one of our first meetings, we just laid down a map of the Sword Coast in Baldur's Gate and just started brainstorming, like, what if we went here? What if we went to this location? And it just felt like a natural design jam. It felt like it was just people, the D&D team. It didn't feel like, oh, there's people coming in, these outsiders. It just felt natural. And there's stuff mechanically where, like, we were thinking of making a change to one of the classes in the tabletop game. So I sent an email over to your side, and what's the design? Nick was just like, oh, well, we have something very similar, which we're already thinking of implementing. I want to ask you about, like, things like that. And there's even some parts as we've been working on the game of the lore that's going to be coming back from the game and into sort of the core of D&D and might influence future tabletop stories.
Nice. Wow.
It really feels like it's very collaborative.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in that meeting. That would have been amazing.
Well, there were many, so it's like
it's one of those moments in like my career, like working on D&D, where you could feel like I'm here making the thing.
Yeah.
That if I wasn't here, I'd be dying to know about it before playing.
Yeah.
So it felt really good. It felt like a natural partnership.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I am so happy you guys are making it. I literally can't think of a better studio.
Thank you.
Divinity has been, I don't know, in some ways the spiritual successor of Baldur's Gate. It has that same thing. I don't even know what you call it about it. And
agency,
yeah.
Where decisions matter,
and
affect everything.
You can do things in so many different ways and freedom, and just this is one thing I would describe the game. And when it was revealed, I was just like, oh my god, this is
good.
Yeah, so
I'm happy to hear
I definitely think you guys
made
the right call there. Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for doing this. This is a game I've been wanting to play for a long time. So yeah.
And you're not alone. So
yeah.
We'll do our best.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all the questions I had. So
cool.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah.